show me now that I would not be killed in vain.
And welcome back to Good Things Utah. No, this is not your normal host. It's Kurt Bester here. I luckily get to share this.
Doing a good job.
Well, thank you very much. And when I knew I was coming today and they told me who I got to introduce, I was very excited because I have followed this young man for 2010. No, I've followed him for a long time. We're excited to welcome Ted Neeley, the one and only Ted Neeley, to the show. He's a rock and roll drummer, singer extraordinaire. Most people know him for Jesus Christ Superstar. Has there been anybody else? I know there has, but you are the definitive one as far as I'm concerned. Welcome to the show.
I think I will leave now while I'm ahead.
That's it. That's all you need to
Thank
hear.
you very much. Well, I had the great good fortune of being involved with this piece from the first time it started in New York back in 1971. Wow. And then I got to be in the film in 72. We shot it then. It came out in 1973.
Golden Globe nominee, if I remember.
He does know a couple things.
Now, you originally auditioned for Judas back then?
That's correct, yes.
Why did you choose that instead of the main role?
I didn't want to get anywhere near the role of Jesus because everybody in the world knows exactly who Jesus is. Nobody knows who Judas was. It was a challenge to create a character. I didn't want to. Well, look at it this way, and you know this, Kurt. When you perform like we do, there's a house full of critics, you see. Well, if I'm going to play Jesus, there's a world of critics, you see.
Good point.
Whereas Judas, I could do something, and people might say, well, that's interesting, and it's okay. But when I auditioned for Judas, and I auditioned for the role with a director with whom I'd worked in Hair for 3 years prior to that, and I went to do Judas, and he came up on the stage and said, that was magnificent. Can you come back tomorrow and do the other guy?
And you said the other guy, which makes me wonder, you talk about preparing for a role. If you can remember back when you were first saying, oh, now I got to prepare to be Jesus Christ.
Yes.
There are so many different religions and dogmas and hyperbolized versions of Jesus Christ. Did you go a whole different way? Did you do an amalgam of all the above? What was your thinking at the very time you said, now I'm going to prepare to play this part?
Honestly, from my childhood, I heard people say, what would Jesus do? I grew up in the South, in Texas, Bible Belt region. I had a very deep-set religious background, so I pulled upon that, literally, on what I had been taught as a child. And the number one ingredient I felt was to be respectful of the spirituality of Jesus Christ.
And how did people take it? How did audiences initially respond? Were they offended? Were they okay with it?
Well, they weren't offended with what I did. They were offended with the concept of the show. And the biggest offense was just the title, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
They could not relate to that. And the whole premise of that from Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber, who wrote the piece, was that Jesus was, in essence, a superstar of his time. That way we know superstars today. It was not disrespectful. It was taking what he was able to do all by himself that influenced the entire world and still has for centuries.
You guys are too young to remember, but I remember seeing it back in the 80s. And I remember thinking I was going to be offended because rock and roll and Jesus, that doesn't mix. And the title. I went and I watched it and I thought, wow, there's nothing offensive really in there. I mean, there's some fictional, not fictional, but some imagined things about Jesus you don't find in the scriptures, but they seem real.
Yes.
So nothing offensive.
Well, the whole premise was to look at the man Jesus through the eyes of his contemporaries, you see. And nobody, when he was there, thought of him as anything but a prophet who could speak and took issue with everyone's opinions, you see. So Tim Rice went into the book of John, pulled out the idea of the premise, and then said, okay, what do we think Judas might have thought of Jesus? What about Mary? What about the apostles? And what about Pontius Pilate and Caiaphas and Annas the high priest? And it's talking about the last 7 days in the life of the man called Jesus, how he influenced the people with whom he was surrounded at that period of time. So it's an objective look at the man who became Jesus Christ that we all know. You see.
Wow.
So it's all about people's relationships. Jesus is one of the people in this piece. It's not called Judas Iscariot Superstar, it's called Jesus Christ Superstar.
So since then, you've played the role since 1972. How many times on and off?
Well over 5,000 times.
Wow. Have you really?
and I almost know the words.
You're starting to ad-lib a little bit.
We're so happy to have you back here in Utah. And
Thank
you
you.
have a show going on the 15th through the 31st
Yes.
in Park City at
Yes, at the Egyptian Theater.
the Egyptian Theater. And
Yes.
this is something that all of us will want to go see. The Egyptian Theater, 328 Main Street, Park City. Go to www.egyptiantheatercompany.org, or you also said parkcity.com.
ParkCityShows.com.
ParkCityShows.com.
And runs through New Year's Eve, so you're here for a little bit in Utah. What do you do in your
Well,
downtime?
the whole reason I came here, literally, was I heard that Kurt was going to be at the Egyptian.
And he is.
And he's going to be there, and we thought we would fill in the space in December around when he comes so we can make it comfortable for Kurt.
You know,
That was nice of you.
Ted,
Nice of you to
what a
hire
guy.
us.
Sweet.
As always, such a nice guy. Thank you.
Ted, it's so good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. There's